Hey everybody, Brian Zane here, back again with another classic pay-per-view review as nominated on by my backers on patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. This week it's WWE Capital Punishment from June 19th, 2011, nominated by Jordan Gonzalez. Thank you so much, Jordan, for this pick. This show is notable for a few reasons. It's the only Capital Punishment show they ever ran. It's the one and only time R-Truth ever had a main event singles match on WWE pay-per-view. And also, interesting little piece of trivia, this pay-per-view took place only a few days before CM Punk's infamous pipe bomb promo, which many people say was the turning point for the way WWE has been presented ever since. Before I begin this pay-per-view, I got a lot of feedback on the last one for Super Brawl 2000. People were asking me, why don't I put more production value into these reviews? Since it's an older pay-per-view, I have more time to work on it. The thing is, with these classic pay-per-views, they're not all necessarily going to be bad pay-per-views. So I don't plan on ever kind of formatting these reviews the same way I review my long-form shows. So there's not a lot of opportunities for, cutaway gags and, big drawn-out jokes. So I want to treat these like I would my normal pay-per-view and Raw and SmackDown reviews. Second of all, a lot of people were asking me to incorporate more video footage of the shows in my classic reviews. Really, I just want to keep the aesthetic the same between my modern pay-per-views and my classic pay-per-view reviews. A lot of it has to do with copyright. A lot of it has to do with the fact that not every show I'm going to review is going to be easily accessible online or have quality footage to use. So I'd much rather just use still images that I get off the network, because that's just it's easier for me, and I think it gets the point across just as well as video. So with that being said, let's just dive right into Capital Punishment 2011. First off, I do want to comment on the set they used for the show. This took place obviously in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., so the set was modeled after the U.S. Capitol building. Really cool touch they did there. I think it was one of the cooler sets I've seen in a long time. It's funny because we're just so used to homogenized same sets for every pay-per-view now. To go back just 6 years ago and see the custom sets they still did for a lot of pay-per-views, and it was a breath of fresh air. Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Booker T are the announcers for the evening. It's crazy because, as of this recording, Booker T is the third man on the commentary desk now for Raw. And the way Booker T was acting in 2011 and the way he is in 2016, it's like night and day. Booker T was so much more loud. He talked so much more when he was doing commentary before. Now he's just kind of like barely getting words in every once in a while on Raw. I feel like the change, the difference 6 years has made for Booker T on commentary is very drastic. It's also worth pointing out that at this point in time, Michael Cole is still a heel announcer. He did lose his feud to Jerry Lawler a couple months before this, but he is still doing a lot of heel tendencies when he announces, especially when people like The Miz and Alberto Del Rio show up. He's very erratic in this show. He just alternates from match to match, being total heel or just regular straight man. So for the purpose of this review, every match will feature the Michael Cole heelometer. It'll tell you how much of a heel Michael Cole is being from match to match, and it does vary wildly. Opening match for the US Championship as Kofi Kingston defends against Dolph Ziggler, who is accompanied by Vicky Guerrero, his business advisor. This is the short hair Dolph phase. It's a really weird period of time where he had really short hair, and I'm not sure if this takes place before or after he dyed it brown, so he looked just exactly like Evan Bourne, who's also on this show. This match was, it's one that we've seen a lot before from these guys, and one we've seen a lot since. So as far as, huge spots in this match, there was nothing here that really made me jump out of my seat, nothing we hadn't seen before from either of these guys. Jerry Lawler on commentary cannot stop insulting Vicky Guerrero's appearance. Like, he feels like if he doesn't make fun of her weight or her face, within 30 seconds he'll just explode. He'll just combust from the pressure within him. He was saying Vicky shouldn't wear horizontal stripes. She should go on a hunger strike, and that if Dolph wins the belt, he can buy better arm candy, and that if she were a building in Washington, D.C., she'd be condemned. And Michael Cole, the sole voice of reason and all this, kind of defending Vicky Guerrero here. But yeah, Jerry's antics here have not aged well and just sound so, off color here. Kofi hits a crossbody from the top rope onto Ziggler's back, which I thought was interesting. Like, Ziggler was standing up and Kofi hit his back on the way down. I'd never seen the move taken that way before. Kofi goes to the Trouble in Paradise. He misses, but he does hit the SOS. Dolph kicks out, which elicits the first "What the hell?" from Booker T on commentary. In the ending sequence of the match, Kofi goes to the Trouble in Paradise once again. He misses it. Dolph goes for the zigzag. It gets blocked. Dolph distracts the referee while Kofi is leaning on the ropes to the outside. Vicky rakes the eyes of Kofi Kingston, and Dolph puts the sleeper on Kofi. Now, at this point, it seems they were really trying to build the sleeper as Dolph's new finisher. Not the zigzag, not the famouser, which at this point was just called the leg drop for Dolph Ziggler here. No, it was the sleeper hold. It was the devastating sleeper hold. So he's got it on Kofi. Kofi passes out, but before he passes out, he's reaching for the ropes, and Dolph he pushes off the bottom rope for leverage. And the whole time the announcer's going, wait, shouldn't that mean the hold's broken because he's cheating, he's using the ropes? Like, both Cole and Lawler are in agreement on this, as is Booker T. So they're talking about that. Kofi passes out. the bell rings. There's a very awkward pause where they don't know what to do because like you don't know, well, wait, is the referee going to reverse the decision because Dolph didn't break the hold after he went off the ropes? Did Kofi lose to tap out? What happens? So like 20 seconds goes by of just like not knowing what's going on. The bell rings, and then the referee declares Dolph the winner and the new champion. And so they just go, okay, well, he pushed off the ropes. Don't care. And so yeah, Dolph Ziggler is your new U.S. champion. We get our first live look of the night of R-Truth, who's going to be challenging John Cena for the championship in the main event. He's actually carrying the belt with him because he stole it off of John Cena the previous week on Raw. R-Truth has just gone batshit insane at this point. He has seceded from the WWE Universe, which at one point included him dressing up as Robert E. Lee, which is interesting in and of itself. We'll get more into R-Truth and his mental state later in the show. Backstage, Todd Grisham is with The Miz and asks a very 2011 question: do you think you have what it takes to beat Alex Riley? What a time to be alive. Yes, the Miz-Alex Riley grudge match happening on this show, stemming from their long-standing partnership, which began the previous year on NXT when Riley was the Miz's rookie. And then, of course, that led to the whole bodyguard scenario that they had where he was basically the Miz's running buddy, his goon, leading to the Miz's WWE Championship run, which ended the month after WrestleMania that year. The Miz tried to win it back from John Cena. Alex Riley screwed up one too many times. The Miz fires Riley. And at this point, there is a genuine the fans generally like Alex Riley at this point. Like, they want him to break away from The Miz. They pop huge when he does. So this is kind of like, this match is seen by what I imagine people would see as kind of his coronation, his coming out party here, this grudge match here. Michael Cole, the heelometer's at a full 10 here because he is solidly carrying the torch for The Miz still at this point and just bashing the hell out of Alex Riley. One thing I want to point out, this is the first time tonight I really noticed all these Zack Ryder signs in the arena. At this point, his YouTube series was catching like wildfire. He was getting super over just on the merit of that show alone. So a lot of Ryder signs, a lot of "We Want Ryder" chants. P.S. He was not booked tonight. But yeah, the overness of Zack Ryder is definitely felt throughout this show. The Miz spends the bulk of the match just really punishing Riley here. He's just kind of slapping him, he's embarrassing him, he's pushing him around, he's just really rubbing it in his face, and Cole all the while on commentary going, yeah, Miz, get him, Miz, like this little like yappy dog on the outside. At one point he puts Alex Riley in the tree of woe. He's going for a running baseball slide to the face, but Riley sits up, Miz crotches himself, Riley mounts his comeback, they fight to the outside, and at one point they're right in front of the announce table. Cole starts getting up and just yelling and berating Alex Riley, or A-Ry as he's called then. This man nurtured you. He nurtured you. He kept saying that word, he nurtured you, which all I could think of was this very disturbing visual of The Miz literally like just nursing Alex Riley with like a bottle or from his teat. And it was just like, I don't know why I thought of that. You guys planted the image in my head when you had Cole say he nurtured him. That's all I'm saying. Riley's had enough and he pulls Michael Cole over the table, so Cole gets a little bit of a bump here. He gets his comeuppance. The Miz grabs the briefcase, this very symbolic briefcase that even though he wasn't the Money in the Bank champion anymore, Riley still carried a briefcase for The Miz during their partnership. So he's going to hit Riley with the briefcase. The referee takes it away. A-Ry with the DDT, and Riley wins. He beats the former WWE champion in singles competition. And like I said, this was like, I think, meant to be his coming out party. Like, the crowd was over for it because he was a hometown boy. He's from Washington, D.C. So it seemed like the right place and the right time for Riley to turn face and beat The Miz in the hometown and come off looking really strong. And I think he did. Like, he overcame the initial punishment from The Miz. He got one in on Michael Cole. He beats The Miz in the middle of the ring clean. So yeah, I think it was about as good a look as you can get for Alex Riley. But for one reason or another, the Alex Riley experiment never really took off. Backstage, Sergeant Slaughter is with President Barack Obama, or rather an impersonator who's flanked by the Secret Service agents. We'll see a lot of the fake Obama throughout the night. Up next, the Big Show takes on Alberto Del Rio. This feud began a few weeks prior when Del Rio interrupted a Big Show promo backstage. He slaps Big Show in the face and runs off. Show chases him into the parking lot where he is immediately accidentally struck in the leg by a very fancy car driven by Ricardo Rodriguez. In the build-up to this, Big Show pummels Ricardo with multiple punches and takes him out of action for a couple of weeks, including this pay-per-view. He also snaps on Mark Henry, who I guess is an accomplice of Del Rio at this point. I kind of forgot this part existed. He's tearing apart the SmackDown set. He's mad. So Del Rio's making his entrance for this match, with his own custom, with his fancy car. No intro from Ricardo. He's coming out, Big Show jumps him on the ramp, and they fight for a while. And really, this match does not officially start for a long time because they're fighting. At one point, Mark Henry runs in and assaults the Big Show, puts him through to an announce table. This is one of the first matches of this show, and there's already a table spot here. So Henry slams Show through the table, and on top of that, he then assaults the previously injured leg of Big Show. So now he leaves, and the whole rest of the match is, the story is Show valiantly trying to get on back on his own 2 feet to fight Del Rio. And so the match officially does begin when he gets in the ring, but multiple times there are breaks when the referee tries to stop it. Do you want me to forfeit? Can you get up? Can you keep on fighting? Because if you can't defend yourself, I gotta throw the match out. So if the match does carry on for a little bit, Del Rio does try to get Show in a cross arm breaker, and Show just picks him up and drops him on his back, which is a sick looking bump. And then he puts the cross leg breaker onto the Big Show. The Show is he's so much pain. He's all in agony. He's just writhing in pain. Show grabs the ropes. You can just see the pain and the anguish on his face as he tries to get back onto his feet. The referee keeps asking him, is he okay to wrestle? Show says yes, he still wants to fight, but he cannot get up ultimately, and the referee does throw the match out. So via ref stoppage, Del Rio wins the match, and he goes on to celebrate like he won the world title. He's just so happy. He's running around. He's on the corner. Yeah, like that, which is just such great chicken shit heel mannerisms from Del Rio here. The Intercontinental Champion Wade Barrett is backstage cutting a scathing anti-American promo in our nation's capital. He brings up the national debt, he brings up our education system, he brings up Congressman Anthony Weiner. He says in 20 years, everyone in this building will be speaking Chinese. This brings out his opponent for his Intercontinental Championship match, Ezekiel Jackson, former member of the Core. By this point, the Core is no more. The group has fallen apart because Jackson wanted to pursue a singles run, he wanted to break away from the group, and everything fell apart. So it's very interesting. This match gets a couple of USA chants from the audience, despite the fact Barrett is English and Jackson is from Guyana. The fans not really interested in this match. This is where the most audible "We Want Ryder" chants take place throughout the whole show. Barrett hits Ezekiel with the wasteland, but Ezekiel kicks out. Ezekiel's comeback is body slam, body slam, body slam, torture rack. Wade Barrett submits, and Ezekiel Jackson is your new Intercontinental Champion. And boy, I totally forget this reign ever existed. I don't even remember who Jackson lost the belt to. I remember him beating Barrett for the belt, but I have no idea off the top of my head where the belt went from there. Backstage, fake Obama is shaking hands with Santino Marella, Beth Phoenix, and Kelly Kelly. Santino offers to show the president his Cobra, and so he and the fake Obama do the moves together with the arm moves and everything. And then when Santino turns the hand around to point toward the president, so it's armed at that point, that's when Secret Service tackles him and takes him down and ushers Obama out. Because, yeah, the Cobra is really gonna, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Backstage, CM Punk cuts his second best promo of the month. He's with Josh Matthews. He says, I'm a politician, and if you want to swim with the sharks, you have to become one. You have to be political to get anywhere here. Anyone who says otherwise to you in this locker room is lying. And he says, when I get done beating Rey Mysterio, I'm going to do the most honest thing that WWE Universe has ever seen, which is huge foreshadowing to what happens a week or two from this. And again, great promo overall by Punk. CM Punk takes on Rey Mysterio here. At this point, Michael Cole is back to being a heel announcer. He's not quite on the level of when he was announcing the Miz-Riley match, but he's close. During the introductions, he's talking about how, Rey Mysterio is hiding behind a mask, he's a liar. Meanwhile, CM Punk's father raised him the right way, which, I'm pretty sure that line gets retconned pretty soon after this in Punk's feud with Jericho. This is a great back and forth match between these two. Match of the night, in my opinion. Earlier in the match, Punk's on the outside. Rey gets onto Punk's shoulders, but he's quickly dropped face first onto the barricade. Punk working the torso area a lot in this match. He gets him in a leg lock, holds it in that for a long time, gets in the abdominal stretch as well. Very old school move. You don't see that very often anymore. During one of Rey's hope spots, he jumps to the top rope. Punk kicks him, and Rey quickly puts himself into a tree of woe position. He basically falls back, quickly hooks his leg onto the top turnbuckle, and hangs back in the tree of woe. Great coordination by Rey there to take that bump back and hook his leg really quickly and to get in that position. Later in the match, Rey hits Punk with an Asai moonsault to the outside, and Rey actually lawn darts himself later on. You know that one famous scene in WCW where Kevin Nash takes up Rey Mysterio and throws him face first into the truck? Mysterio basically does that to himself here. He jumps on the top rope and hits Punk with a huge headbutt right to Punk's face. It's a brutal looking spot, but it looks so cool. The finish happens when Rey counters the GTS into an arm drag. Punk falls into position for a 619. Rey goes for the 619. Punk catches him, gets him back on his shoulders for a GTS, and wins. Awesome match with these guys, and it was just great setting Punk up for what would be happening a couple of weeks later on Raw. World Heavyweight Championship on the line as Randy Orton defends against Christian. Now, much has been made online over the years, though not in this show, not yet anyway, about Christian and his time with the World Championship. You know, when he won the belt at Extreme Rules in the ladder match, everyone felt it was a long time coming, very deserving of the belt. Of course, he won the NWA title back when he was with TNA, although he only held this belt for 5 days, or 2 in real time, after he lost the belt to Randy Orton in a follow-up match that week on SmackDown. And since then, he has gone full-blown heel. He's fought Orton at least a couple times after this. By this point in the build-up for this match, he was the guest referee when Orton was defending the title against Sheamus. He helped Orton win the match that time, though he hit Orton with the belt afterward, and then began this whole concussion storyline with Orton, which is something we've seen before from Randy Orton back when he was first fighting for the world title and feuding with Triple H, all the way back when the Evolution broke up. So this is kind of a continuation of that in the ways. Christian has exploited the concussion weakness of Randy Orton, and that's the big story of this match. Seemingly every bump, every impact Orton takes on his back or his head, he gets progressively more woozy and balanced. Booker T cannot stop talking about the balance thing, and then after a while it actually does begin to catch up and look more visibly like, wow, he's getting really messed up. It's insane to think that as late as 2011 we were still having storylines surrounding concussions and the fact that someone is still working through a concussion. That's mind-blowing, for lack of a better analogy or lack of a better phrase. During the first half of the match, there's a few points in which Christian just flat out misses high-flying attempts. Orton just gets out of the way. There's a missile dropkick in the ring. There's a crossbody to the outside. Christian misses both of those and whiffs it. Later in the match, Christian goes for a spear. Orton leapfrogs it, goes to the RKO. It gets blocked. Christian hits a spear after a second attempt. There's a kick out. Then Christian goes to the top rope to do one final maneuver, but Orton catches him with an RKO. He pins Christian and wins the match to retain the championship, but there's controversy as Christian's foot was underneath the bottom rope, so that constitutes a rope break, but the referee did not see it. Now, the controversy led to yet another rematch between these two for the title at Money in the Bank the following month, which Christian would win the championship because the rule was if Orton got disqualified, the title would change hands, and that's what happened. Christian goaded Orton into kicking him in the groin, and that's how the title changed hands there. So yet another, feather in the cap for Christian and his time with the World Championship. This match itself was enjoyable. The thing with Orton selling the concussions was a little uncomfortable to watch, knowing now what we do know about concussions and Orton's own history with concussions as well. The mascot at that time for Keystone Light, Keith Stone, comes out to ringside with the Bella Twins and sits at ringside for the rest of the show to watch the matches. Great. Yay, sponsorships. In a previously unadvertised bonus attraction match, meaning, hey, we gotta fill time on this show, Jack Swagger took on Evan Bourne, aka Brunette Dolph Ziggler, in a continuation of their micro feud they had going on TV. The short and sweet match here, the story was Swagger was working really hard to keep Evan Bourne grounded, just kept him the mat with wrestling holds, big clubbing blows, the torso area with his elbows, brutal looking stuff. A lot of the time in this match, because it's Father's Day, the topic of fathers comes up among the announcers, and there's all three of them are talking about how their dads beat them when they were kids. It was really weird commentary to be hearing about while this match just completely apropos to nothing they were talking about was going on. A big jumping tornado DDT by Evan Bourne near the end of the match. Surprisingly, it was a kick out. Swagger goes to the ankle lock. Bourne counters it into a roll-up attempt. He pins Swagger for the 3 and wins the match. And that's the theme really with this feud, is that Bourne keeps getting these really surprising upsets on Swagger. Time now for one more appearance by fake-ass Barack Obama. He comes out to the live crowd to give a speech. He comes out to hail to the chief, and it goes to a shot of some uniformed military in the front row saluting. And it's weird because I had to look it up. Me and R. Felix Finch actually took some time kind of researching what was going on and what the rule is, because I thought it was weird for them to be saluting an impersonator. I don't think that's in good taste. And R. Felix Finch, who is a Navy veteran, was trying to figure out what the protocol is for saluting indoors at all. And so we figured it out, and apparently it is permissible to render a salute indoors, even if they were within their right to salute indoors. Still weird that they're doing it for an impersonator. I will give credit to Reggie Brown, the Barack Obama impersonator on this night. He was actually really good. He's very accurate for the depiction of Obama. The fans, though, they're booing, they're chanting what? They don't care about this thing. In his speech, fake Obama wishes good luck to John Cena and to R-Truth. Both names get booed, which I thought was kind of a surprise. He wraps up his speech saying, God bless the WWE, God bless America. He starts to walk off, then Booker T comes up from the announce desk and beckons fake Obama to come to the ring ring. And so then Booker T challenges Obama to do a Barack-a-Rooney. So Booker T does his spin-a-Rooney, and Barack does his thing where he does some little breakdancing, then he does a little spin, and, you know, gets a little bit of a pop, but it's like, ugh, this is such an awkward thing. Just the whole idea of, like, presidential impersonators, which they have done time and time again on Raw and stuff like that. It's just, it never gets over. Main event time, the WWE title on the line as John Cena defends against R-Truth, who, like I mentioned earlier in the video, he has snapped. He no longer wants to rap and dance for the little Jimmies. He's talking trash to all the kids and adults who buy John Cena merchandise. Basically, R-Truth says he is the victim of a company-wide conspiracy against him. It's very reminiscent of, you know, Chris Jericho's conspiracy victim thing in WCW. He considers John Cena a propaganda machine, which, you know, bare bones, he is. He is kind of a propaganda machine, at least especially at this point during the Super Cena phase. So yeah, I think he actually hit the nail on the head with that one. So this match happens. This is the period of time when R-Truth comes out to no music. He has the opening bit at the beginning, "The truth shall set me free," and then there's no music. It's really weird. It's like there's only a handful of wrestlers I can think of in the modern age who've come out to no music. Like Vince McMahon before No Chance in Hell happened, Vladimir Kozlov, and R-Truth, and I think that's pretty much it. If I'm wrong, if there's more that I'm missing, let me know in the comments. This match was crazy to watch because, you know, if we've seen John Cena matches over the last couple of years, he's kind of established himself as like a workhorse in the company. Like Big Match John. He's always putting out really good matches with really good workers. Both John Cena and R-Truth are good workers, but this match to me just did not click. Like this was, I think, I don't know if it was a placeholder or an experiment or what, as trying like, well, let's test the waters and see if R-Truth can really cut it as a main eventer. Because this match to me didn't really cut it. It was not an ugly match. It was not like botchy or anything. It was just a really slow-paced match that really brought down the mood throughout the whole show. I think other matches, like if you compare it to like say Mysterio and Punk, this match like really stunk compared. Again, it was not an ugly match. It was not a terrible match. It was just very, very slow. It was like spot rest. Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what happened, but it was an issue of, yeah, like a lot of breaks in this match. And R-Truth definitely trying to show off his vicious side. The character exposition and expression is there, but watching the match, it was just hard to get into it. Time for a good old continuity break. So I'm adding this little addendum to my review because I realized as I was editing all together, oh my god, I never actually talked about my thoughts on R-Truth as a main eventer. So I figured I would discuss it here briefly. I think it was a very interesting time, the spring of 2011, the spring and summer of that year, because, you know, you had John Cena and The Rock looming ahead in the distance, and you just came off of Cena and The Miz, but in the meantime, they were kind of throwing other options at the wall to see what stuck, because you had John Morrison challenging for the championship, you had R-Truth finagling his way into the number one contendership as well, so now you have this match of Capital Punishment. I think it's really unfair, the fact that this was the only singles chance of the championship that R-Truth ever had. You know, he did main event Survivor Series later that year, teaming with The Miz to fight John Cena and The Rock, but that was really a foregone conclusion, and that was pretty much the end of R-Truth's time in the main event scene. And so he was never really taken seriously, which I find very unfortunate. I think R-Truth holding the belt in 2011 would have been a really cool thing to see, but the timing of it just didn't work out. I think the biggest problem with that was CM Punk winning the belt and Money in the Bank. If I can put on my fantasy booker hat for a minute, I think one cool thing that you could have done was have, you know, CM Punk win the belt, Money in the Bank, leave not for 2 weeks, but rather 2 or 3 months, and in that time, Raw would set up an interim championship, kind of like what they wound up doing, that one, like, less than a day reign with Rey Mysterio, and then John Cena winning it back at the end of the night, then CM Punk returning. I think instead of doing all that, what they could have done was have R-Truth become the first interim champion on Raw after Punk left, hold the belt for, you know, a month, maybe 2, drop it to John Cena, then CM Punk returns, and then they have their inevitable rematch, the champion versus champion thing. R-Truth would have gotten his championship run. It would have been an interim thing, but it still would have counted in the record books. But of course, that didn't happen. Truth had his one and done with John Cena over the championship at Capital Punishment. Never really touched the main event scene, the championship scene at least, again, and was never really taken seriously as a credible threat in the main event, especially at Survivor Series teaming up with The Miz. So it was a really interesting experiment. I wish that it had gone better for him. I think if anyone truly deserves to be in the main event at that time period, I think R-Truth was definitely one of those guys. Would R-Truth as champion have worked? Would it have drawn? I guess we'll never know, but I think it would have been, at that time, it would have been worth to try. During one of Cena's comebacks, R-Truth cuts him off, hits him with a suplex into a stunner, which was a really cool spot. He tries to hit a crossbody from the top onto Cena. Cena catches him. I'm trying to think. I'm writing in my notes. R-Truth counters with a move. I don't remember what it was. Cena kicks out of whatever move R-Truth hit him with, and so R-Truth rolls out of the ring. As Cena's selling, he encounters a little Jimmy, a little boy in the front row who's dressed in full Cena garb. He's got one of those commemorative WWE cups. So R-Truth just walks up to him, eyeballs him. He takes his hat, puts it on, and then he grabs a drink from him. He just kind of leans up against the barricade for a while. And it's one of those things where it's hard to hate R-Truth here because he's such a likable guy. And this bit he's doing, even though he's trying to heel on a little kid, he's still entertaining. He's leaning up against, he's smiling, he's taking a drink out of the thing, and then he gives the drink back to the kid, who immediately splashes the water or whatever it was in R-Truth's face. He sells it with such a surprise. Cena throws him back into the ring, hits him with the attitude adjustment, and wins, and that was it. Basically, little Jimmy cost R-Truth the match. And that was the story they were telling, because every time Truth went back to his old ways, the dancing, the interacting with the little Jimmys, that's what ultimately cost him. So the story was there. The whole story arc of R-Truth saying he wasn't going to sing, wasn't going to dance, wasn't going to interact with little Jimmys, but every time he did something like that, every time he danced, every time he interacted with a little Jimmy, that backfired and cost him in the end. So the story was there. I love the story, but the match itself just wasn't clicking with me. There was something about the physicality of it and the timing and the pacing that I did not care for. So Cena celebrates his championship victory with the little Jimmy, who's clearly on the dole. Fade to black. That was Capital Punishment 2011, and man, this show was a mindfuck for me. I'm not going to lie, because watching this show and being so accustomed to the current product now, they are drastically different products. They are nowhere near alike. With the exception of John Cena, who even today is on a slightly downgraded role from where he was in 2011, nearly everyone on this card is either in a severely marginalized role from where they were. R-Truth is the biggest example of this, or they're just flat out gone. The Shield hasn't debuted yet. They won't debut until Survivor Series next year. NXT, as we know, it hasn't taken form yet. A lot of the indie darlings like Cesaro and AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, etc., have not even come close to the company yet. The landscape, the workers they have and the style they have, everything is so different. You are watching two different WWEs from Capital Punishment 2011 to today. And of course, CM Punk is kind of like the bridge to that. He was like the indie darling who worked for the company. And of course, he had the pipe bomb promo about a week later after Capital Punishment, the infamous promo that everyone has gone back to as this pivotal linchpin moment in the history of the company, the way the company is perceived and the way the talent is perceived and judged and graded by the audience. It's a lot has changed since this time period, and that's the craziest thing. Just look back on and see, from the announcers to the aesthetic to the ring work to the talent involved. Everything is different, and it's only been 6 years, and that was the craziest thing. Watching Super Brawl 2000 was fun for me, because I was only a fan by that point for 2 years. At that point, it's oh, what a fun nostalgic trip down memory lane. This was just what am I watching? It's like the Twilight Zone watching 2011 compared to 2017 WWE. I feel like there's this perception that Capital Punishment was a bad show, but looking back at it here, I don't think it was as bad as it's made out to be. It can't hold a candle to Money in the Bank the following month, and there are some things I don't agree with, but as looking at it in isolation for this review, I don't think it was a bad show at all. I probably would give Capital Punishment a C+ grade. Now, I know I gave Super Brawl a C grade, but I think in hindsight that was wrong. I should have graded it lower, a D. That was a terrible show compared to this. They're not on the same plane, so don't worry. I'm retroactively grading Super Brawl D. This is C+. I think the main event again, I love the story, but the execution of it I thought fell flat to me. The fake Obama, I get why they did it, but it's, again, I think impersonators in wrestling are just so weird. I guess you can't get the real Obama, but come on. The IC title match between Barrett and Jackson just kind of fell flat for me. Didn't really care for it. Things I did enjoy, again, I loved the CM Punk Rey Mysterio match. Easily the match of the night. Miz and Alex Riley told a good story. If you put it on mute, it's even better because you don't have to hear Michael Cole. The world title match, Orton and Christian, was a great match. My second place choice for match of the night, probably. Christian, obviously the workhorse here, really trying to work over Orton and expose his concussions, but ultimately falling short in the end, continuing his descent into madness and insanity. What do I got to do to catch a break? Great stuff from those guys. So yeah, I would probably give Capital Punishment a C+ grade. Not the best pay-per-view in the world, but good for what it was. And man, just thinking about the foreshadowing of what comes next after this, Money in the Bank 2011, is just, you get the gears turning in your head and the nostalgia and the memories coming back. But yeah, Crazy to watch this show after watching so much modern WWE today and seeing how different the landscape is. So let me know what you thought about capital punishment in the comments section below. And if you want to help determine which shows, which classic pay-per-views I review in the future, be they WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, whatever, as long as I can access them online, go to patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret, become a $10 backer, and you will have the ability to choose which pay-per-views I get to review in the future. So once again, thank you to Jordan Gonzalez for submitting capital punishment, and find out again in 2 weeks which show I'm going to be reviewing next. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.